32 years in the business and more than 200 live shows since the lockdown began. And I get second billing to a teenager. Good evening and welcome to this very special episode of the Construction Collective show. We will get to the contribution from young Master Haddock very shortly, but first we'll have to put up with his father for just a bit.
Hello, Mark.
Good evening, Peter.
Good evening. Oh, have we got a show for you tonight, folks? It's going to be mega on all fronts, Mark. Absolutely.
I totally agree. Now, although this is the fifth official outing of the Construction Collective in this format, the three founder members have been busy behind the scenes with their respective offspring in some cases. Peter, I know you got to spend some time on site with our friend Nick Drew, and my son and I met up with Nick to see the new Lugong 90-tonner as well, but more of that later. But in the meantime, I thought it'd be worthwhile to get us all in the mood to take a very quick look at some of the things we've been up to since we last officially convened the Construction Collective. So stand by your beds, because here she comes.
Hey!
Good evening. Let's crack on. And thank you for joining us.
Technology. A new product. People can two-wheel drivers, four-wheel drivers, auto drivers, auto stoppers.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Well, boy, oh boy, Mark, when you add it in like that, we have been busy. And that's just the Construction Collective. That's not just the day job either, is it, mate?
Not even the day job. No, absolutely right. I will say a few quick hellos before we get your son and heir onto the stream. Good evening, Justin. Great to see you here, mate. Good evening, Ken. Ken, as ever, has timed his Tesco delivery just to coincide with the show because, you know, no show is complete without Tesco's deliveries. And good evening to you as well, Sean. Right, now you saw him earlier, but it's time to get young Lucas Haddock onto the show. Lucas recently accompanied his dad on a visit to the Staffordshire headquarters of Digbits, and here he is to tell us all about it. Good evening, Lucas.
Good evening, Mark. Thank you for having me on the show, and I'm here to present my show of me giving you a tour around Digbits.
And you made a new friend while you were there by the looks of things.
Yeah, I made a friend with they call him the chief of advertising because everyone comes there to see the dog and not them.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, okay, well, you've given it the big intro. Let's have a look and see what you got up to on your day at Digbits.
Hello, I'm Lucas Haddock, and today I'm here with Maury, one of the senior executives at Digbits. And today we are going to be giving you a tour of their facilities. So here we have some cranks and two huge storage towers which are very clever. If you wanted any parts, you would click on this tablet and they will come down from these shelves. Each shelf can hold about 1 ton worth of weight. So here we have some buckets and tracks, and the tracks are from Sri Lanka, and the buckets are made just across the road in their manufacturing facility. Some of the equipment here is made from hard-ox steel, which is supplied by a company in Sweden. Now let's get on to some of the buckets, the crushers, the tracks, and a new product which is pretty much an oversized garden brush, and you can take it off with these bolts and use a rake instead. And here we have some different kinds of buckets, all for different things. You've got thinner buckets, you've got destruction made of hard ox. Here we also have some tracks made in Sri Lanka. There's some grabbing tool up there, and this is a tarmac dumper bucket, and there is also a huge bucket which you would use for landscaping. And now I think we're going to head over to manufacturing. Here we have a Digbits truck which they usually deliver the smaller parts like these ones over here, and this is the attachment which you can attach either a rake to or a oversized brush. We are now going into the specialist robot facility. Here we have what seems to be something you would use to cut holes through your attachments and make these things here. Here we have one of the things used on the attachments to attach them to the end of your digger. As you can see, there's all different shapes and sizes for these kind of things. We are now going to head towards the welding department. As you can see, there are very good welds on these buckets after they have been shaped, and then they use the poles that we were talking about over there to finish it off, and then they will end up adding the piece to attach it via welding. So that's it from the welding department. I hope you liked the tour, and it's now time for me to go pick up Murray again and give him something to eat. So it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Murray.
Brilliant, Mark.
Absolutely cracking job, Lucas. And strange,
Thank you.
I don't know if you're aware, I don't know how closely you're watching this. You're actually getting a few mentions in the comments. Scott Barnett is saying hello.
Hi, Scott.
Lee is saying hello as well. Somebody,
Hello.
Haddock, I'm sure you know who Joe Haddock is as well. Ken Hatcher, who has obviously dealt with his Tesco delivery, he is saying hello as well. And he's also said, look at the dog, the unsung hero of the show. But you've done a cracking job there, Lucas.
Thank you.
Now, unlike us old farts, I understand that you've actually got a social life. So I'm going to let you go and get on with your evening. But do keep those films coming, and we'll see you on another show.
Will do. Will do. Look forward to it. Thank you.
Absolutely. All the best, Lucas.
Bye.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
We'll just throw up one more comment. Yes, Peter, your job is under threat, much as mine is from Fred, who sat next door, probably swearing at me now for doing everything wrong, because that's what he does.
Whole point, Mark, before that, you just said Fred and you just said Lucas. That was a collaboration between your son and mine, as Fred edited that, folks, and Lucas starred in it. So we are well and truly on our way to retirement, mate.
Yeah, succession's taken care of. Absolutely right. Now, Peter, I mentioned earlier that you and I both spent a bit of time on site with our mate Nick Drew. I'll be showing what Nick and I got up to in a few minutes' time. But first, you and Nick got to put an electric skid steer through its paces in what looks like an absolutely gorgeous location. Where were you?
Well, we were just near Burton-on-Trent in a secret location, Mark, where basically it's a Bill Joe is basically the excavator specialist, but actually the dealer for the unit. But what was brilliant is they've got a facility, and right next door is actually an area which we could use to dig. Now, it had got a lot of tough stuff for a skid steer, so it wasn't the ideal scenario with beautifully flowing soils. But Mark, this is not what the industry's about, is it? We've got to move what's got to be moved, haven't we?
Dead right. And it looks like, as I say, I've never seen an electric skid steer actually working. It looks like it copes with it very, very well. So let's take a look and we'll have a chat about it in a second.
Hi, it's Nick Drew. Well, there's a real buzz in the air today because I'm here with the guys at Abiljo, who are now dealers for the Backhoe electric skid steer range, and I'm joined by James Walker of Abiljo, who's going to show us around.
Morning, Nick. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Let's take a look at the front of the machine. So yeah, I've just been putting this machine through its paces and seeing what it's like, and I've got to say there's not many machines that you get a mobile phone with you to operate it, because this doubles up as the screen inside, so you control the machine from this, and you can even control it from the outside the machine, not actually sitting in the cab. So yeah, James, tell me a bit more about how this all works then.
The phone connects up to the machine using Bluetooth.
Yeah.
The phone works as your dashboard. You can change your driving speeds, you can change the hydraulic speeds for the arm, switch the self-leveling bucket on and off, lights, all controlled through the phone. There's no actual dashboard in the machine, it's all on there.
All on there.
And then, like you say, you can get out of the machine, you can change the controls over, and you can just sit and drive it with the phone with a range of up to sort of 14 or 15 metres.
Oh, that's amazing, isn't it? Let's go and take a look at the back of the machine.
The first thing you notice straight away, obviously this has got an extended battery, with a longer life battery, so it's got this extra bit sticking out the back because it's got a bit more battery in it, but that gives you the extra lifting capacity with the 1400 kilo capacity. The standard machine, it's just level at the back here,
Yeah.
so it gives the extra counterweight. Underneath, there's not a lot. You've just got your battery connections, hydraulic pump, one of the electric motor that operates the hydraulic pump, and then the drive. There's two other motors exactly the same. One drives the left side, one drives the right.
So tell us a bit more about the batteries, because I understand this is different than what we're seeing on some of the other machines that are available.
This is a straightforward lead acid battery. So as we see it for this machine, it's an advantage because the extra ballast and weight that it gives the extra capacity of the machine. It's also, we see it as being potentially more reliable with a longer battery life. It also helps with the machine itself, as you'll have noticed with operating it, the centre of gravity of the machine is further forward and lower down than a traditional skid steer, so it makes them more stable. You'll find you can go up steeper banks and across steeper banks with them, no problem whatsoever. Yeah. They'll recharge overnight. With a standard charger is 440 volts, so you do need a three-phase to charge it, but there's several charging options available, 240 volt, 110 volt, whatever you need to suit your requirements.
Yeah, good. So, you know, the question everyone asks when we're talking about electric machines is, how long do they last in operation?
This will last up to 8.5 hours.
Right.
Reliably.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind that every time that driver gets off the machine, he doesn't have to turn it off, it's not idling.
Yeah.
It's not using any power.
Yeah.
So the actual time that the hour meter clocks up is the time that the machine's actually being used. And you'll notice a lot of difference between how much time the machine actually gets used and how much it gets standing.
Brilliant. Right. Let's go and take a look inside the cab. Right, I'm going to go into the cab now and get James to talk me through all the functions, etc. And I mustn't forget my screen. Yeah, comfy now. So yeah, just explain what the controls are and what does what.
Usual standard sort of controls. 2 levers. You can change the configuration, the control configuration, using the app on the machine.
Yeah.
Also on the app, you've got all the controls for turning all the lights on. It's got full road legal lights. Very bright spotlights on the top, indicators, brake lights, everything else. It's also got a self-leveling bucket system which you can switch on and off through the app. All your wiper controls, everything is controlled through the phone. You'll notice that the only control you've got in the cab is for the heater fan.
Yeah, ideal.
And that's it.
And I noticed you've got a nice bank of reverse cameras here.
You've got reversing camera and you've got left and right hand view cameras as well.
Excellent.
To give you a full 270-degree camera view.
Well, there you go, guys. Let's go and have a bit more fun. Well, that's me done. I've got to say, I was very surprised at how powerful this is. And you don't get all that noise either. There's enough noise, it's working, but it's not unbearable noise. And yeah, I was amazed by just how strong it is. So, looks a great bit of kit.
And there you go, Mark. And what a strange noise it was to go onto a site. That the noise that we had was more about the bucket tipping out that horrible concretey mix of saw than it was about the that was going on. But like Nick said, it was loud enough. So, for me, electric machines, the biggest thing that people worry about is the fact that they're not putting out any noise. So therefore, people aren't going to be aware that they're working and working around them. So really important that. But yeah, first in the UK, Mark, and we were there in the sunshine. So that was brilliant.
Yeah, and hopefully James and Matthew from A Bill Joe are actually watching this evening. So if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below, and we'll do our best to get them answered either by one of the A Bill Joe team or possibly even Nick himself, because I know Nick's in the chat there as well. I thought it was also interesting to see that they've got they're using a traditional style battery as well.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, what was interesting about that is actually the battery acts as a counterweight that allows it to lift more. So what was really fun is that we had another one which you didn't see in that clip, and you could see the difference with the battery that is the extended battery was on that one, and obviously that didn't have the same capacity, and therefore you're saying, right, what are you going to use this machine for? And they're using the battery. Yes, lead acid battery. Everyone thinks about lithium-ion batteries nowadays, but they're using that as the counterweight within the design. Now, Mark, when I spoke to, and I've got a video coming out myself, Mark, of course, where I can't go on site without doing one myself. That's coming out next week. But when I was talking to the product expert myself, they were talking about the one design thing that happened with this machine. And guess what that was, Mark?
Go on.
It was designed around the battery.
Okay.
So fundamentally, like we'd see a design around an engine, or an engine squeezed in, or something like, or designed for specific tasks. This machine was designed from the ground up, going, we're using this battery. It's this size. It's going to give us this capacity. Let's build a machine around it, where the battery is the integral part of it, not just for the power, but for the stabilization and for the whole way in which that machine can work, with a range of attachments, with the buckets and everything else that you'd expect from a skid steer, because they are a kind of Swiss Army knife of the site. And of course, what we didn't really focus on there, Mark, was that free phone you get with every purchase, which is basically the phone is the actual display in the cab. It's a rough, rugged phone, Android phone. But what that also doubles up as is a remote control. Now, we've seen from the likes of Bobcat where the remote control skid steer is so important. And we've seen them in our previous launch we did actually create a mobile function to allow that mobile phone to be a remote control. This has been totally built in, and so you can move it around. I didn't have a go with it because at the time, we're doing that. We wanted to get Nick on the machine with the limited time we had, but really clever that is all integrated. And of course, you're taking that valuable piece of asset with you home. So when these things are on site or left on site, if you see a screen, if people see stuff inside, what do? Smash it up, try and grab something. But you're taking this out of the holder, off you go,
Well, that answers a couple of questions, actually. And there you go, Sean Grattan. Tying up your phone. Well, it's not tying up your phone, it's tying up the machine's phone. And I don't know exactly which model they're using, but look, I've got a rugged Android I'm about to start testing. So
I've got an Apple phone. But the thing is, Sean, that phone can obviously, if you're owner operator, you may want to use that phone as your own phone. But realistically, it's based on that platform. It's basically like saying they have in machine control terms, people could put a tablet that they've got themselves into a machine control system, for example. But, that can double up as a phone. Most people that will be operating it will have their own phone, Mark, anyway. But it's one of those things, isn't it? Again, you're putting it into a cradle where you can keep it charged. And realistically, the only thing you're going to do with a phone is maybe take a call in. And obviously, you want to be doing that in a safe way whilst you're not operating anyway. So, yeah, I get that. But I don't think that's an issue, really. It's a byproduct of the fact that it is actually a phone and can be used as a phone anyway.
And in answer to that earlier question, will it work with an iPhone? A Bill Joe to the rescue. They're there with the right answer at the right time. So well done, guys. That's perfect. Interestingly, Charlotte Brown from Lugong Direct UK has just popped into the chat, and she has said what I think everyone is thinking. Nick is looking very good, very slim. And not only do I agree with her 100%, but her timing is absolutely perfect, because we're just about to show you a nice Lugong in which you might see the slimline Mr. Drew once again. He is looking good, I have to say. I don't want this to turn into the Nick Drew fan club, but he is looking bloody good.
No, he turned up to my door when we're doing this together last week, and I opened the door and I'm like, sorry, mate, I can't take any parcel deliveries. I'm waiting for a friend of mine.
Where have you gone?
What a change, you know. And the fact is, you know, he could have been carrying a very heavy at least 3 kilogram parcel for what he's lost in weight, and, you know, doing a lot of cycling as well. Brilliant to see that with Nick, but also still got, obviously, anyway, the energy to get out there, ask the right questions, find out, and have a go on a machine that, quite literally, you know, really with these sort of things, you do need to spend probably half a day with it or whatever. Nick jumped on it, and, you know, it is different, and he'll tell everybody that it is different as well. But, you know, what a great another development in the market that can actually, you know, help us go and be zero emissions at point of use, Mark. Not obviously zero emissions, you've got to charge these things up. But also, the other thing about it is, you know, when we are looking at the kind of projects that these things need to go on, we're looking at working indoors, we're looking at working in confined spaces, tunnels. You know, the guys have said to me, look, one of the first things is we've had loads of people talking to us about, can we take one of these sort of things in a tunnel for a project, cleaning up, making sure that debris and everything is dealt with. And absolutely you can, and you can remote control it if you need to. But again, as well, what I love about the confined spaces is, you know, you can actually take that remote control, pull it out of its container, for example, you know, without having to climb on and all the rest of it. So all these different little things where it's awkward, or it could be difficult, or you could maybe have a slip, trip and fall, or, you know, you don't want to go underneath, like we've seen with other machines, underneath the beam that is out there, and that, you know, within a demolition context, you know, the demolition industry yourself, you know, very important, isn't it? So, you know, great.
That really was one of the standouts with that machine, actually. That all the time I was watching that, I was thinking, you think inner city demolition. So it's nice and quiet, as we've already said. You know, it's rechargeable and it's remote control. You know, you can take that to bits of a demolition site that maybe you wouldn't want to put a man as well. Perfect, absolutely perfect.
And there's one more thing, Mark, which I really liked. It's modular. So it comes off the ship or whatever, you know, it comes from Europe. It's a modular machine. So what that means is, it's critically what that means is, if you break something or you damage something or somebody goes into you or machine, this is a modular format. So you're not going to have to go through a whole big rigmarole of, you know, getting the part things welded in, or this, that, and the other, or waiting for these parts or that. You can put it together. Therefore, you can take it apart, fix it, put it back together. You know, great scenario. Super, super simple.
Absolutely. Now, I did just mention the fact that I also got to meet up with Nick to check out the first of a kind Lugong excavator that's just been purchased by J French Plant Hire. There is a longer, more detailed film over on Nick's YouTube channel, but we also shot one for this show, mainly to prove that I do actually leave this office and that I do, in fact, have legs. So let's take a look at that. This machine is the first of its kind in Europe. It's the Lugong 995F DM.
weighs in around 95 tonnes. And this is a 5.6 cubic metre rock bucket, which has come all the way from China as well, made in the factory in China. So we've got the blue chip full Kawasaki electro-hydraulic pump, delivering 1,000 litres per minute. So this machine is powered by an 18.1 litre Perkins engine. So that's putting out around 600 horsepower. Let's go and see what it can do.
Well, Mark, that digger can dance to the tune of Nick Drew, my friend. You know, I was like, and you notice how he got his DJ style on. He flipped the hat, the hard hat on, and put it back. You know, that's another branding thing for Nick, obviously.
He's down with the kids, clearly.
Oh yeah, I was like, look, this guy's making it. It's all on the deck, you know, on the joystick, and I think. Look, wow, what a big machine. To be honest, when I heard that was coming into the UK, I was a bit shocked. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a big deal. And the guys are French. Wow, they've gone for it there, haven't they, Mark?
They really have. And I think what's interesting is the fact that obviously it is a Chinese-built demolition excavator. And I know a few years ago when Lugong first made landfall in the UK, there was a lot of talk in demolition circles that the machines wouldn't be up to the job and that they were selling them very cheaply and all that kind of thing. But when you look at some of the people, you think about the Kelp Brays and the Squibs, not only have they bought one or two or more machines, they've been back and they've bought more and then they've bought more again. Those machines have proved their worth. So you know, 3 years ago, somebody had said a 90-ton demolition excavator from China. I think a few people would have scratched their head. Now, not so much. That's an absolute tool. It really is.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting, Mark, is I followed the journey that Lugong has been on with Nick. So I followed Nick. You know, he's done a lot of work with Lugong. He's been on a lot of these machines, you know, and he really has gone and tested and gone on sites and seen things. And so for me, I'm able to follow that journey. And with that journey, you go, hold on, that's in a really, really difficult environment. Hold on, we've got another thing in a difficult. Hold on, we've got another different attachment here. The versatility of the machines and obviously the quality of them, because these demolition contractors, you know them better than I, Mark, but you cannot have a bad machine on a demolition site. Also, you cannot have a machine that really doesn't do the job because you are literally working to a time frame in demolition, as you know. But equally, the thing that I've been, and I've done it in the past, I've been on demolition sites and I've waited there. Why, Mark? Because there's a hose issue. So, you know, broken hose, burst hose, whatever. So again, you're talking about all these different design elements that have gone into these type of machines that really give confidence to their end users that they can use them in the harshest of environments. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk on social media, Mark. I mean, I put Nick's video onto my channels and boom, you know, I mean, that was after he put on his. Yeah, massive amount of reach we've had, I know, from your channels, my channels, and Nick's. And this is what the Construction Collective's all about, because what we're about tonight is showing a brand new electric machine. What we're about right now is talking about the massive Lugong machine. But what we've been doing is sharing everything, because this is what the show's all about. This is why we're all working together, so we can share each other's stuff, so we can reach a bigger audience.
You might want to think twice about us working together when you see what's coming next. And I'll tell you now, if there are any young children or people of a nervous disposition watching, now will be a very good time to switch off or to look away. I'm about to show you something that will chill your blood, and it will make you question everything you thought you knew about Nick Drew. My son Fred was filming the Lugong machine, and Nick was in the frame, right over on the right-hand side of the frame. And this happened. What the hell?
You know, he might have lost a few pounds, but not. He's done a disappearing act. My goodness, that was very spooky, Mark. That was incredibly spooky.
I'm a little worried about him now, I have to say.
Well, what I can say, Mark, is I want to see that picture he was taking at the time, because I want to see if that's blurred and disappeared as well. You know,
I'm starting to wonder if he actually casts a reflection in a mirror now.
Yeah,
you never know.
Well, that's
now,
the power of Lugong excavators.
Well, you never know. I'm just about to encapsulate the skill set of the construction collective. So Nick turns up and they give him the keys to a 90-ton excavator. They allowed me to watch from a safe distance. And Peter, somebody's allowed you onto a simulator, and they even restricted that, right?
That's not very fair, Mark, but it's absolutely true. Do not put me on a machine. I am not an operator, but I did want to get really into seeing if I could smash stuff up, Mark, you know, and I think for me, this element of look at the power of these things. If they're driven wrong by someone that doesn't know what they're doing, i.e. me, surely we can smash some stuff up and do some damage. Of course, nobody would let me into a real excavator, but there's a lot of reasons for that, Mark.
So should we take a look and see just how well or otherwise you got on smashing stuff up?
Hi, I'm Peter Haddock, and normally you would see me on construction sites reporting about the latest equipment and innovations. But today, I'm here at 10-Star Simulators because basically I want to have a look at how to become an operator. But not really. I want to look about how I can use the 20-ton excavator in there to smash something up or to do something that's unsafe so that I can actually share that with other people. So, folks, let's go in and do some damage with the 20-ton excavator in here. So you can see, folks, we're going in and I'm going to climb up into the 10-Star Simulator. Oh, and here we are. Obviously, I will put my virtual seatbelt on as such, but basically, I'm in control of a 20-ton excavator now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to smash some stuff. Hold on a minute, what's going on here? I've tried to smash something on the right-hand side. Let's go over to the left-hand side. There's some stuff I want to... No, not working, guys. I know there's an overhead cable ahead of me now. Let's see if I can go down into the ground. Oh, I can do that, and then really give it some level, and what? Can't even go up and hit that cable above me. You know why that is, folks? Because 10-Star Simulation has come together with GKD Technologies to put its slew and height restrictor onto their simulator. Why is that brilliant? Well, it means that I can't do these sort of things in real life because I'll have been trained on the GKD system here in a 10-Star Simulator. And remember, 10-Star Simulators all over the country now. Operator Training Hub with Flannery's got the latest bank of 3 of them, for example. So what it's really showing me is how we can use simulators to train people like me to do the job right, do it safer, and also to make sure I understand how to set up the slew and the height restrictions. And obviously we can go from bottom only to the top here, folks. Thanks very much for 10-Star for letting me have some fun today, and thanks very much to GKD Technologies for making their worksite a safer place. And we can do that in a simulation form so that when we're on site, we know exactly how to set these things up. We can be safe on rail projects, we can keep pedestrians safe, and ultimately we can go home safe every day as an operator as well. Thanks very much, folks. I failed.
What I find really interesting about that is obviously a simulator works purely on software. That's all it is software. And yet they've actually brought in the real deal GKD system so that, you know, not only does it perfectly replicate what you will see on site, but it will make operators used to that GKD system once they jump on a real machine as well.
Yeah, well, what's interesting that, Mark, is, again, I've got a few more videos coming out on this, one with Nick at GKD and one with Simon at 10-Star, who are explaining, you know, why this is really important. Biggest thing, Mark, you know, I talk about technology all the time. Well, What is the point of technology if you don't know how to use it? And therefore, anyone going onto site not knowing how to use technology can't get the best out of the machine. And in the case of a restricted areas, if they can't set up the slew and height restriction, then fundamentally that is not safe. And so they can actually have an accident. That accident could involve the machine, a pedestrian, like we said, or, could do something even more serious. But why have we not done this before? Because at the end of the day, if you can do the training on these systems, learn how to use them in a controlled environment, so a safe environment where you've got time to do things, then that's great. Think about the alternative. If you did this and you were going onto site on a rail project, for example, and at night, and you're putting this on, and you say, come on, we've got to get on the project, we've got to get moving, you're rushed, you don't necessarily know how it's going to work. That's when mistakes happen, Mark. That's when it doesn't work. So this is why, the teaming up, the collaboration I love to talk about is all about people working together to go, what goes wrong and why does it go wrong with our system? Because people don't know how to use it, because people don't know how to turn it on, because they don't even know what that box is, that screen glaring at me. And, we all want to be safer. Our lives have got to be safe when we go on site. It's not acceptable if anybody gets injured on site. And this is why these technologies are there. So it's really great to see that. And also, I've seen more things where now QR codes are being put on machines that people, particularly from hirers, because obviously if you're hiring a unit with one of these on for a job and you don't know how to use it, that have videos that I can get my phone, QR code my phone, that brings up the video on how to use it as well. So, all of these things just work together. And let's be honest, if we don't have simulators, because the days of going and playing on your dad's digger on a Saturday to come into the industry are well over. But we need to get people in that realistic scenario. And with this realistic scenario, we're not just talking about one machine there. We're talking about 10-star actually, are doing things like banks of these simulators where there's an ADT driver, there's a dozer driver, and then there's an excavator driver, all working together, and these teams can work together. So it's great. And like I said in that clip, Operating Skills Hub at Flannery's HS2 depot just outside Birmingham. Great facility. I've been there, interviewed some of the trainees. They've got a big play area, dig area at the back. They've got about a bank of 3 of these simulators inside, and obviously the classrooms and things like that. So what's great is let's make sure all of the technology providers work together, we all train together, and wallop, I can't smash up anything in real life because I'll have set up that slew and height restriction properly and know that I'm right in doing so. Brilliant. Loved it.
Yeah, I'm very impressed by that. And I think the other point, and this, in some ways, this goes back to the Abiljo film that we had on earlier, is that familiarity. You're making people familiar with technology. And I know we said this when we saw the latest generation of Bobcat remote controls. Because it is based around an iPhone, it's not technology you need to learn. It's technology that people are using all day. We've often talked about the PlayStation generation and that sort of thing. Well, pretty much anyone can work a smartphone, and if you're operating a machine or even just setting the machine up via smartphone, it's entirely intuitive, isn't it?
I think the biggest thing about this is don't reinvent the wheel, or in this case, Mark, the track. Don't reinvent the track, because at the end of the day, you've got people that are technology savvy, like my son who was on earlier. These kids know what they're doing with technology. They've got 14 screens and all the rest of it, and something's on there. They know what they're doing. We're coming and going, what's that doing, and why do you need 14 screens? Because of this. Oh, okay, that's why you need 14 screens. But they know these things. It's intuitive. An app, everyone knows that the little symbol there says there's an app update, or there's an update due on this, or it's automatically updating, and it automatically connects with things because it works. So don't try and do anything different. And if you are looking at these technologies, make them to simulate exactly what people are used to on an Android or an Apple device, for example. And in doing so, they will actually learn faster, become better operators and become safer operators. And as you want to update a machine, you can update it via the cloud. Now, remember what we said at the when we did the Bobcat launch. Bobcat are actually going to be able to give people the ability to upgrade a machine through an application. And basically, that means you can add more power in and all the rest of it. So you won't have as many ranges as such and sizes or power range mode of this or general mode, version of that, because you'll be able to increase the functionality. And what that means is when people build things, they're building one size of skid steer or excavator or whatever, but they're allowing people to go, well, just want the basic option. Somebody moves that on to another job. If you're a rental business or, you've moved it on after a couple of years and that other person wants it to be more powerful, great. And it's just really where we need to be. And the carbon emissions benefit of that, not making, different types and things like that and actually making that available is ideal. And it's just brilliant. And that's why, I did want to have fun with it because, it's a simulator, everybody. But, this is what things stop people smashing things up. And it's a serious message there, really, Mark. But, can't help but have a bit of fun with it, can you?
Absolutely right. Now, back to slightly more serious matters. Since we all last got together, those fine folks over at Sunbelt Rentals have been digging deep into their coffers and investing for the future, placing a relatively large order, in fact, the biggest ever order with JCB. Peter, as surely the most connected person in the UK construction industry, you were straight on the case with this one.
Oh, Mark, I couldn't resist this one. This is really great. I'm very fortunate to have a relationship with the CEO of Sunbelt Rentals, Andy Wright, a fantastic guy and a great leader. And he's been on my podcast and we've done videos together. And so when I heard a little rumor that this was happening, I managed to grab him at 11 o'clock on the day of the announcement to do an interview with him about the reason why they placed this huge order. And here is a shortened down version of that. You can go back onto my LinkedIn to actually see the longer one. But wow, record-breaking deal from Sunbelt Rentals and JCB. Let's find out more about it, Mark. Welcome to another Who's Investing slot, supported by Ritchie Brothers, the used equipment specialist. Now, for this Who's Investing slot, it's a record-breaking interview because I'm going to be talking to Andy Wright, the CEO of Sunbelt Rentals, about its record-breaking deal with JCB. So let's hear from Andy.
Oh, hi, Peter. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you a little bit today about this deal with JCB. It is a big deal. It's a record deal for JCB in the UK. We didn't set out to do that. That wasn't part of the plan, but it just happens to be that way. We've entered into an arrangement with JCB to the tune of £65 million across a number of product ranges from now through the rest of this year through to September. We've invested heavily in dumpers, excavators, telehandlers, generators and powered access. And what's behind this? Well, we have made no bones about it. Our vision is to own the future rental. Our mission is to deliver a world-class rental experience. And in doing that, you need the best kit to do that. This arrangement with JCB is all part of that plan. I think one of the most staggering and most impressive parts of this particular deal is that 92% of that investment is in stage 5 or battery technologies. We are making a huge step change in terms of our fleet holding and the mix that relates to non-fossil fuel type of equipment. We've also invested in battery technology around telehandlers, around mini excavators, and around dumpers. But that's not all. We fitted stop-start technology to all of the equipment. And we've also tried to develop a range of equipment that improves and strengthens our position from a safety perspective. So all the equipment that we've purchased has telematics fitted to it. The telematics will provide us with data. It allows us to provide data into our command center, customer portal for our customers to access. And from that data, they can take information and make great decisions about their rental assets. So they can look at things like utilization of assets. They can look at the use of those assets, whether those assets are not working but idling, burning fuel. They can start to use that data to drive down CO2 usage They can look at things like safety incidents. Have they got operators driving without seat belts? So all of the equipment we've got across the whole range comes with telematics. We've also fitted forward cameras onto all dumpers. All the dumpers are cabbed. Telehandlers all have high visibility technology as well fitted. It's a big investment, but it's also a big investment in the future. Over the last 12 months, we know that things have been difficult out there in the marketplace. It's really exciting for us to be able to make this investment in the UK with a UK manufacturer. Comes off the back of strong trading performance over the last 12 months, helps us to continue to position ourselves as the market leader in this particular area.
So that's a great insight from Andy there. Record-breaking deal with JCB. Fantastic to see that level of investment in the UK industry. And of course, this Who's Investing interview was brought to you by our friends at Ritchie Brothers. They just want to do business with you, and you can buy with Ritchie Brothers, you can sell with Ritchie Brothers, and you can even sell to Ritchie Brothers. Just go to rbauction.com. And thanks very much for watching the Who's Investing slot.
That's making a statement in so many ways, Peter, isn't it? I mean, obviously, spending £65 million is making a statement in itself. It shows a lot of confidence. But their commitment to environmental and their commitment to safety as well, that really is an absolute statement of intent, isn't it?
You know what, Mark, I've got a podcast coming out with Andy, and we spend half an hour, and this is the second podcast I've done with him, talking about those issues, talking about how we can improve the whole construction and the whole rental sector. And you're looking at a business that's huge. They've got a huge reach and they've got this massive commitment there. But when you look at it, they didn't need to buy all this stuff from JCB. They could have potentially gone elsewhere. But what they've done is they've supported UK business as well at a time when, that is a massive boost for employment at JCB. And so, a lot of people talk about sustainability, and people think sustainability is about carbon emissions and things like that. It's way, way more than that. It's about a business like Sunbelt Rentals UK saying, we are looking at how we can make this industry more sustainable. And we're looking at how, with our power in the marketplace, we can actually create jobs, we can create opportunities for people, and we can reduce carbon emissions throughout that process. They're making a huge investment in electric products there. And like we said before, Stage 5 just launched some of these products. So this deal is going to see products that JCB just launched the other week, which we covered, going into the fleet. So this is like, probably there's been a test model, but, really confidence out there. And I think what's also very, very interesting is we know that the clients of Sunbelt Rentals UK are focused on those things as well and reducing their carbon impact, etc. But they're also looking at how we can build back better, which is this sort of government mantra. We can build back better if we have the right equipment and if we have all the support. Now, Andy didn't touch on it as much in this little clip we put together, but in the wider thing, they were talking more and more about telemetry, more and more about how they can actually support the customers to make better outcomes and to make sure they're not, idling too much and make sure they're using the assets right and things like that. So it's just really, really insightful and really important. And, that podcast with Andy will be going out in the next couple of weeks. So people have got two opportunities to listen to Andy now. The first one I did, which is opening up the business over its rebrand and throughout the COVID period. And now a year later to seeing what they're actually doing with a record-breaking deal. So fantastic, Mark. Love it.
No, it totally is. And hats off to Sunbelt Rentals and hats off to JCB for keeping that business here in the UK. Now, obviously, the last time we saw Nick Drew, we didn't see Nick Drew. He'd vanished. So I think it's time to make sure he's all okay and get his ever-shrinking torso back on the show. This time with a bit of Turkish delight, even though he's currently forbidden from eating that. Nick has enjoyed a very long-term relationship with the team at Turkish equipment manufacturer Hidromek. I think it's Hidromek, although I usually say Hydromek. And yeah, as a result, he got the opportunity to take one of their latest generation backhoe loaders for a spin. And Peter, I think you went along for the ride, didn't you?
Well, I went along to watch it, mate, because remember, I can't get in these things. That is not acceptable behavior. So I went along to watch it. And what was really interesting, Mark, for me, and I was like a bit shocked with it, there was a rotor tilt rotator on the backhoe loader. And I'm like, whoa, brand new backhoe loader with a rotor tilt rotator. Why? It struck me. But, you think, actually, is this kind of approach going to bring back the popularity of the backhoe loader? Because it was hugely popular years ago, Mark. I mean, JCB, massively important product for them. It's still popular in the likes of Europe and Eastern Europe. But, people have gone and moved towards, the excavators and other machines to actually do the job. But here is a customer that's recognized the power of this particular combination. And, when you are traveling like they are up some very steep hills, Mark, it was called High Hill Farm, and it's in the Peak District. And on the top of the hill, there was a 5G antenna station. So you can imagine how steep the hill was. And Nick and him left me at the bottom of it. So by the time I got up there, they'd already done most of the digging, to be honest with you. So the wrong way around that was.
It's interesting. I will play the film in just a second, but I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the backhoe loader was the weapon of choice for owner-operators. And owner-operators traditionally equip their machines to the very best of their ability and to the best of their budget as well. So things like tilt rotators, maybe that makes the backhoe loader more appealing to that owner-operator again. But let's take a look at the machine, and we'll come back to that in a second.
Well, hi, it's Nick Drew. Well, today I'm here in the beautiful surroundings of the Peak District, and we've come here to see a really original machine. It's the Hedromec 102B, and this example has been fitted with a rotor tilt rotator, which, to be honest, looks fantastic on here with the colour scheme. Really looks good. We've had a chat with the owner operator of this machine. He's really impressed with it. He's been a long-term backhoe loader operator, used all sorts of different brands in the past, but he's really taken with this machine. So yeah, he's been having a bit of time on it here at his premises, and he's pointed out, the real power this machine's got in the push when you're using the front loader arms. Also mentions about, the really good visibility and little features like the light down there, and when you open the door, like dark mornings, you've got that light that shows the step. And it's just little things like that. And also the way it's all laid out in the cab, there's lots of storage space. Everything's nice and easy to hand. Just very impressed with the machine.
And that right there is precisely why Nick Drew is such a valuable member of this team, because he's, despite the fact that he's a successful blogger, vlogger, journalist, Weight Watcher, all those things, despite the fact that he does all of those, he still maintains that operator's mentality. Little things like that light to light up the step. I wouldn't have even spotted that. He did.
No, and what's interesting about that is the operator actually pointed that out to us. Because it's like, he is a farmer, Mark, and he's doing, doing building work as well. They get up ridiculously early. It's pitch black. And, everybody knows you're in these environments, muddy environments, slips, trips, everybody's done it, and it can be life-changing if you get that wrong, and there's even sort of the step even sort of clicks up and as well to protect that. So it is the important subtle things that actually work on a machine like that. And I think, this particular operator has been through, the JCBs, the other brands as well. And so he's now picked up on this one. And I think what was really interesting, though, is really making that investment in that tilt rotator. You could see there, he'd only had it for literally a few days, this new machine, but he's utilizing all of that element of the tilt rotator already. They're really quite intuitive tilt rotators if you are a good operator, and it's got all of the controls on the joysticks as well. And Sean is the man that's helped him there. There he is. You know, and so, you know, what he's got is a machine that can do the road miles. So Mark, his particular area, the Peak District, very, very hilly, as we know. And you've got to be on the road from one job to the next. And when you're a contractor in that kind of environment, you've got to have all the tools with you. So you've got the bucket that you can have and carry your tools with you with the backhoe. You've obviously got the tilt rotator, which you can quickly change. And again, looking at the elements to that, think about how that becomes a Swiss Army knife. You can now have a backhoe loader with a hedge cutter attachment with the tilt rotator, for example. You know, you can have the brush on it. You can do whatever it is. So, but with a tilt rotator, you don't have to get out of the cab. And so he doesn't want to be going in and out of the cab, changing buckets, changing attachments. And he wouldn't have those other attachments and those other things if he had to do that, because it's just not worth it. So, you know, all of these things that you can do matched with the power. And I've got to say, you know, I don't know much about backhoe loaders from an industry perspective. Nick does, but really looked like it is designed very, very well. And the build quality was there. I mean, Nick was showing around going, look at this. This is great. This is the arms, the actual componentry within it. So, you know, a really, really interesting setup. And will it help the new backhoe loader version 2.0 or 10.0 by now? Who knows? But as long as it helps that particular owner-operator and his business, which is a family business, then great, you know. And he certainly is a big fan of the backhoe loaders. And, you know, all credit to him for letting us come and see it when he's literally had hardly any time to test it.
Well, there's a follow-up comment there. Just while you're reading that from Sean, I have to say I spent quite a bit of time on the Hydromex stand over at the last Belma show, and they've got an absolutely amazing lineup of products. And in some ways, they kind of remind me of some of the old school Italian manufacturers and certainly some of the Far Eastern manufacturers, in that they've always had such a strong local market. They've not had to look overseas. And yet, behind the scenes, they've been putting together some really, really impressive equipment. Some of their excavators are the proper job. And as I say, I mean, I've not seen that up close like you and Nick have, but that looks like a proper competitive backhoe loader. As Sean says there, it's going to be interesting to see how Paul gets on with it.
Yeah. I mean, Paul said to us, look, he got that excavator, he got the attachment there, but, you know, it's obviously recognizing that it's the transportation. It's going from one thing to the next. That was obviously causing him problems because, you know, he's fundamentally got to get these jobs done. And, you know, within that area and within the contracting environment, he's not a person that's going to sit on a project for weeks on end, Mark. Just not happening. So therefore, it's getting around, getting on the road, getting stuff done, doing the small jobs. If you can pick those small jobs up, Mark, as well, it all adds up, you know? So if you can be versatile and do things and you can get moving to the next thing and you do it very quickly, well, you know, you're paid by the job. That's the critical thing that works, you know, and he's made that decision. And, you know, who knows how it will work for him yet, Sean, because he's only just got it. But you know, obviously he's impressed with the tilt rotator. So obviously you can see how that works and how that actually changed things. But, you know, the combination there is really going to test out the backhoe loader to its extremes, really, and the jobs that he can do. And I'm sure he'll discover the things that he can be supported by with. And, you know, with Sean there to support him with the rotor tilt element, I'm sure, you know, they're going to have a lot of fun with it. But, you know, a good machine, a really big statement from an owner operator.
I think one of the things that would be interesting with this show, assuming that we don't all fall out or Nick doesn't actually disappear permanently, is possibly to start to revisit some of these things. It'd be interesting to go back in a year's time and see just how Paul's getting on, how the backhoe loader's performing, how the rotor tilt's working. So Nick, if you're watching, and I know you are because I can see you sat there in the chat, put a note in your diary. Go back to the Peak District in a year's time and let us know how they're getting on.
The only thing Nick's got to do, though, Mark, is bring that weather back. We had an amazing day. Blue skies. You couldn't have wished for better weather, and we didn't even get whirlwinds at the top of that great big hill, thank goodness, because the recording of any sound would have been horrific.
And the Peak District does get some weather, doesn't it? It really does.
It does, yeah. Well, of course, Mark, you've just mentioned the Peak District. What's going to happen next year in the Peak District, Mark? Any guesses?
Go on.
Thing in a quarry, small thing in a quarry.
Peak District. Now, let me see. There's something on the tip of my tongue. What is that?
Faces that shovels do loading stuff and, live broadcasting potential.
It's
Hill.
ringing a bell.
Hill.
Yes, Hillhead, at long bloody last, Hillhead. Come back, Hillhead, all is forgiven.
Yes, exactly. Can't wait for that one, Mark. We actually drove past on the way to the site. We drove past the turnoff. Nick saying, "Turn left, Peter." I said, "Hold on, Mark. You've got to wait." I said, "Hold on, Nick. You've got to wait a little bit longer, Nick." But we'll be back there, and we've already booked the accommodation, Mark. So it's all going to be a huge construction collective collaboration at that show. So anybody listening, give us a call before Hillhead.
Absolutely. Now, we are getting very close to the end of this show, but if you still want a fix of heavy equipment, the production company behind the Scrap Kings TV show have got you covered. And the next episode, which airs on Quest TV next Tuesday evening, features a very impressive bit of kit from demolition specialist DSM. It's one of their high-reach excavators. I'm fairly sure it's their EX1200 Hitachi. Now, obviously, this is just a TV program, so it's not a patch on this show, obviously, but the producers have given us exclusive access to their trailer for that show. And we do like to give those poor old TV types a bit of a leg up from every once in a while. So let's take a look at that.
This time on Scrap Kings, monster challengers, as a beast rolls onto site, ready to cause carnage.
It's just chaos.
5 high-rise towers in Bradford face obliteration in its hands.
It's just a matter of getting this big old machine in here now and tearing it down.
While in York, another scrapper bites off more than he can chew.
Showing his wages.
And in Somerset, a scrap sculptor wrestles with a 4-legged animal from scratch.
I've had to rework it about 8 times to try and get the right dimensions and scale on it.
Oh, you gotta love that, Mark. Gotta love that.
Absolutely. Still not a patch on this show, though. As you will see from the chat, Alexander has missed the entire show. It's the continental Europe time difference has claimed another victim, but don't worry, Alexander. As Peter has rightly said in the chat there, you can catch this. This is being broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook. As soon as the show ends, you'll be able to wind it back and watch it again. So not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Peter, that just about wraps up another Construction Collective show.
Mark, no way. Oh, gosh. That was fun-packed. And guess what? I didn't have to do much talking. But you know why? Nick Drew. Doubled, not once, not twice, but 3 Nick Drews, all in a show.
If only we could clone him.
Yeah, exactly.
If only we could clone him.
And that's what happens, Mark, when we get unlocked and we don't have to stay in our rooms. We get out there, we find the stuff that's going on, and we have an awful lot of fun doing it. So remember, Mark, the one thing I wanted to say to people before they go is let us know if there's something cool like Sean did where we can come and see on site. We really, really want to see this stuff, guys, because it's what we live for. And it's super exciting. Honestly, Mark, last week, cracking laugh with Nick going on to sites, great weather. And then you come back this week, edited it all, showing it out to everybody. It's just so much fun. Do you know what I mean? It really is. And that's bringing us back out of this lockdown. And, you know, we're going to have to get on more and more sites, Mark, and we need everyone's help to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we've been very fortunate during the lockdown. Obviously, we have worked on these shows with the likes of JCB and Bobcat and Liebherr and Hitachi and Mechalak and Uncle Tom Cobley and all. And we've had to do virtually all of that at a distance to actually be able to go out and get our hands on and get our boots dirty and to try out my new hard hat, which is still in the box, believe it or not. Looking forward to that. But one thing this show does prove is that the market is in pretty rude health at the moment, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, Mark, I've been having some conversations with people. I won't say who they are, but machinery is literally flying off the shelves. Well, the shelves, the dealer yards. I saw a post on LinkedIn recently where a big hirer said, there it is, the one thing that's left in the yard and it's going out tomorrow. People are busy. And the thing about that is, you know, we need the industry to come together. We need actually now more than ever, we need the engineers to keep machines going because, you know, we are still having that lag from last year where factory closures were coming down. And, you know, I do a lot of work with Ritchie Brothers. They very kindly support the content that I do, as we've seen in this show. But, you know, get a lot of insight from what's going on in the used equipment market, you know, and people are actually looking for really young equipment and prepared to pay some big prices for it now because there are sort of delays in the flow. Because obviously if factories are shut down for 3 or 4 months, well, that equipment's not being built, is it? So, you know, we were on press conferences where people were talking to us about how much they've sold, you know, so it's great to be in the industry right now. It's super exciting. It's exciting. Why? Because we've got electric machines coming in. We've got more technology. We've got clever people that are saying, let's teach people properly how to use this technology. And we've covered that all in this show, not to mention the cool attachments that actually do and make the job easier and simpler. And all of this coming from like new stage 5 equipment launched by JCB, new technology laden wheel loaders launched by Case the other week, you know, and all of those elements are going to help the industry be better, going to help us be more productive, going to be a fun, nicer environment inside the cab. And if you want a free phone with your electric skid steer, I know a man who can sell you one.
Absolutely. I mean, and just to heap some more positivity on top of that, I'll be back here again tomorrow at 10 a.m. with my daily breakfast show. Tomorrow's episode actually features a guest appearance from Neil Edwards, the CEO of market intelligence provider, the Builders Conference. We'll be taking a look back over the construction contract award activity during April, which looks to be another bumper month. We have mentioned this before, but during the period of the lockdown, so from March the 23rd to March the 23rd, the UK construction industry has recorded £83 billion worth of construction awards. When against that backdrop, you can see exactly why the likes of Sunbelt have had the foresight and the bravery to say, yeah, we'll have a piece of that, and we're going to invest, and we're going to invest big. So if you want to find out more about that, you can tune in tomorrow. I'll also be back here again at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon with the 3rd episode of my new IG live show over on Instagram. And that will actually be my 9th live show in a single week, which is a new record for me. So what are you part-timers up to, Peter? What you got planned?
Actually, Mark, I'm going to put out tomorrow the full Lucas Haddock tour. We had a smaller version of that round Digbits, where you're going to see some more stuff. I'll be putting that out tomorrow. I've got podcasts coming down the line with, like I mentioned, Andy Wright from Sunbelt. I've got new hydraulic innovations from Rise coming in. I've got camera technology podcasts where we're talking about how cameras can actually help us look at their way in which our sites are run better. Oh, I've got skills and another podcast there around how the industry's finally coming together with a skills plan. That's really cool. And I've got some visits lined up, which are a little bit secret squirrel at the moment, Mark, but will feature in the next editions of the show. And of course, Mark, I've got my new look, super cool videos that I do that are thanks very much to Fred for sorting me out and making me look a lot more professional. And so we're going to be seeing more of his edits with my stuff coming through the pipeline. And, you know, at the end of the day, trying to still make those connections, Mark, with the community to make sure we help people get the knowledge that they need to actually be better for their business and be better for the industry as a whole. So always looking for opportunities, Mark, like I said before, but getting out there and seeing them. Let's hope the weather stays good and it doesn't rain on me because I haven't got my content with media branded umbrellas yet. Major fail.
Matter of time. The interesting thing about Fred doing your editing, he makes you look more professional. All he does is swear at me for doing things wrong, which is slightly odd. Obviously, you're very busy. I know Nick's been out today looking at a training centre. He's also getting hands-on with a new Hyundai as well. So our next show is already looking very good. Now, when we pre-promote these shows, I do like to mess about a bit. I did mention on my show yesterday that we were girding our loins, even though I had no idea what girding of the loins actually meant. But I did actually refer to us as the Three Musketeers. Well, it turns out somebody was watching. Crispin Turner of Case. Thanks for that, Crispin. In actual fact, after tonight, we should probably rename that as the Five Musketeers because the offspring are gradually taking over. But it's good to see that people are paying attention. I think that just about wraps things up. Peter, just before we do go, where do people find you? Where you've mentioned your podcast quite a bit. Where's the best place to go and find you?
Right. So, Mark, Peter Haddock on LinkedIn. All of my stuff is generally focused on LinkedIn. LinkedIn first, as they say. And content with media is my business. You can find that on Facebook and you can find that on YouTube. And if you go into your favorite podcast app or channel that you use, type in content with media and you can get all of my podcasts. Now, there's over 40 podcasts now on that channel and really, really insightful ones. Had some phenomenal feedback on the latest one with Matthew Ayres, who is the group MD of the Benny Group, which has Barton Plant in it. Really, really insightful thing about diversity and inclusion, and also about some of the sadder issues that we get in our industry, but how we can fight back and paint a D6 in LGBT colours. So listen to that. Spoke to somebody about that again today. He's had some incredible feedback from there as well. And I just love doing the in-depth stuff, Mark, because these are people that are coming on my podcast. It's the first time, 99%, I think, first time they've ever done a podcast. So it's a journey they're taking and they're doing it with me and they're trusting me to do it. I feel very, very cool about that. Do you know what I mean?
I have to say, and I'm not blowing smoke up your rear end, your podcast on the LGBT, the rainbow coloured D6 is the best thing you've ever done. It is absolutely top notch. So people, if you've got any time on your hands, go check it out. You'll find it, as Peter said, on any podcast platform. You'll find it via LinkedIn. It's worth a listen. It's a very, very good piece of journalism by Peter, but it's an even more bold piece of interviewing by the man in question. So I really would recommend you go and give that a check over. That just about wraps things up, I think. I'm going to play us out with our recap film, partly because we're all out of content, but partly because it really sums up what the Construction Collective is all about. So, Peter, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. I shall speak to you a bit later on, but let's play that recap.
Thank you, man.
Hey!
Good evening. Let's crack on. And thank you for joining us.
Technology. A new product. People 2 two-wheel drive, there's four-wheel drive, there's auto drive, there's auto stop, there's...
Good evening, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.